Okay, hi, Assalamualaikum. We're going to topic 7. Okay, in topic 7, I will divide into two categories. So the first one, we're going to learn on the aggregate planning, MPS, and also MRP. So for this part, we're going to look at the organization strategy, and then we will look at the type of the planning, and then the important part is to know how to do aggregate planning. Okay, that's for the part 1. And then for the part 2, we will look on the MPS and also MRP. Okay, these are the level for decision making. So we are looking at this part. Okay, the shop supervisor or the shop floor supervisor responsible for making the decision on the production scheduling for for 6 months. Okay, and usually the top management will do the annual or yearly planning, and plant manager will do for uh, mungkin quarterly and so on. Okay. So these are type of planning process. So long range is usually for the 5 years planning, usually on the new product development, okay, on the financial planning, and if you want to expand your factory. And then medium range planning is cover 6 to 8 months. Okay, this is when the aggregate planning is happen. So they need to know how many workers they need, do we need to do overtime and so on. And also it involved with the MPS, Master Production Schedule, in which this one you need to do the forecast demand. And then you need to do material requirement planning. This one is to know when to order, okay, and when to receive order and so on. So this one is usually for 1 day to few weeks. So this is very critical lah if you want to run the factory. Okay, this one very important. You need to know how to do the aggregate planning. Okay, and what are the things that they include in the aggregate planning, and what are the information that they need to have in the aggregate planning. So aggregate planning is combining the appropriate resources into general. From there we need to know how many workers that you have, how many workers that you need to hire, how many workers that you need to do overtime. So all of this must be related to the inventory, whether it's enough to cater the demand or not. Okay, so the objective of aggregate planning is to meet the forecast demand while minimizing the cost over the planning period, and is related to master production scheduling. Okay, these are the thing that they have option for aggregate planning, in which are related to changing inventory level, okay, hiring temporary workers, doing overtime. Sometimes if they don't have enough resources, they have to subcon, okay, asking other company to help them in making the product. Okay, so using part-time workers, and sometimes they allow back ordering, in which they allow backlog. The customer said it's okay if you cannot fulfill our demand, but you need to pay us. Okay, and these are the phases. Okay, we will look into the phases later on when we do the example. And we are using the charting methods. They have a lots of method for aggregate planning, but the best one is using the table, and it's usually try and error. Sometimes you have a few combination with the different costs. And these are the steps. Okay, we will look into the example. So these are the example that you need to know how to do it. So they must give you forecast. So usually in months or weeks. For this one, they call it period. Maybe I think maybe it represent 1 week or 1 month. So they say here period, and they have lots of information here. They need to know what is the cost of making one of the skateboard. Okay, this one is skateboard. How much is the labor cost they need to pay for the workers? How much is the overtime cost? How much is the back order if they have backlog? How much is the fee they have to pay when they're hiring new people? And then what is the subcon cost? So all of this you need to know. Okay, they give us 3 alternatives. First, if we only use the regular workers but they allow backlog. Maksudnya dia benarkan untuk berhutang demand. Okay. Example 2 is using overtime. Is it okay to use overtime? Because one of the workers will be retired. So they only have 14 workers. And then the third one, what if they hiring? So we look at the first example, backlog allowed. Maksud dia dibenarkan untuk demand hutang. Tapi ada kena bayar penalty. And dia kata start with 0 inventory and plan dengan ending pun 0 inventory. Dia tak nak simpan inventory. Assume 8 hours work per day. Okay, these are the typical aggregate planning table. So you must have the forecast data. So the first part is the forecast data. The second one is the output. What are the output or what are the option that you're going to use? Is it just a regular with the 15 workers, or sometimes you need to put overtime here, you need to put higher, sometimes if the soalan give you subcon, you have to put subcon here. So for this one, they want you to do separately. So first example is using the regular 15 workers. So we want to know in one period how many units skateboard that the 15 workers can make. Okay, so from the information here, there are 15 workers and satu unit skateboard perlu 8 jam. So tadi dia kata satu hari bekerja 8 jam. So dalam satu hari hanya satu skateboard boleh dibuat oleh seorang workers. So kita ada 15 workers. So sehari boleh buat 15 skateboard only. So dalam satu period kita tahu ada 20 hari bekerja. So satu hari 15 unit kali 20, so 300 units per period yang dia boleh dihasilkan oleh 15 pekerja. Right? Okay, now we want to know the different. So demand dah tahu, and then we know already regular is 300, so we sum up. So now ni demand cukup dengan dia punya regular, tapi dia akan ada short juga. Okay, the first period we have to calculate the output minus the demand. 300 minus 200 we have 100. 300 minus 200 we have 100. 300 minus 300 0. 300 minus 400 negative 100. 300 minus 500 is negative 200. 300 minus 200 we have 100. Okay, now we will do the inventory. So begin with 0 inventory. Okay, begin with 0 inventory. So we have extra here. So 0, and then we have inventory. Masukkan inventory. So at the end of inventory, you ada 100 unit. Then you need to carry to the next period 100 unit. So you ada extra 100 unit. So 100 plus 100. At the end of the period, you have 200 unit. Next, you open the next period. You have 200 in hand. And then kat sini tak ada extra apa-apa. So 200 plus 0, stay 200. Next, open with 200. Okay, this time you ada shortage. So you pakai 200 kat sini. So tinggal berapa at the end? 100. Next, you open a new period. Again, kat sini you ada negative 200. On hand, you ada 100. So you give all the 100 to this. But you have no more in the inventory. Tapi you ada hutang 100 backlog. Kan? Again, you need negative 200. Tapi dalam store ada 100. So you dah bagi, so ada lagi hutang negative 100. So you have to put in the backlog account. So this one become 100. So at the end, dekat dalam store kosong. So next, you open a new period. So dalam store tak ada apa. And this one you ada extra. So you nak masuk dalam store. Tapi remember you have hutang 100. So you have to pay this one first. So at the end, do we have anything left? No. So it end with the 0. Okay, now you want to calculate the average. So how to calculate average? Begin plus n divide by 2. So 0 plus 100 divide by 2, 50. 100 plus 200 divide by 2, have 150. So you have to do all the period. Okay. And then don't forget we have 100 here. So you add all the row for average, inventory, backlog. You sum up all the row, you have 100. Okay, now we begin to calculate the cost. So it's very important to have this part correct. If not, you punya cost akan lari. Okay, next. And then syarat dia kata tadi satu lagi, make sure end of the period 6 ni 0 inventory. Dia tak nak inventory. So now we're going to do the cost. So we want to know 1 unit cost ni berapa for the regular. So we know that 1 unit perlu 8 jam. So 1 jam is 25 sen. So 1 unit 8 jam kali 25 sen, so RM2 satu unit. So we put here RM2. So we know satu unit for regular 300 times RM2 per unit, so we have 600. So you do for all the period because it's the same one, 300. So you add up, you dapat 3,600. Then for back orders, you check the backlog. So backlog only this, you ada hutang kat sini, and then it costs here about RM5 per unit, so 100 times RM5, you have RM500, sum here. And then for inventory, you have to use the average. For example, for this one 50, the inventory cost is RM1, so 50 times RM1, you get RM50, and this one is 150, this one is 200, and so on. So you sum up, you get 600. So you sum the total, so you get 4,700 for the example 1. Now you're going to do example 2. They say that using overtime, tapi there's one person is going to retire. So how many left? Only 14 workers. And output for each period for overtime, 40 units, cannot be more. So we want to know what's other different that we need to do the overtime. But before that, regular have changed. So now we only have 14 workers. And we know that one workers do 1 unit per day, same as the example 1. So 14 workers times 20 days per period, we get 280. Okay, so it have reduced to 280. And now we sum up, we have 1680. So the difference is 120, we need to do for OT. So for OT, we need to know how many period. So we know that maximum is 40 unit per period. So 120 divided by 40, we have 3 period of OT. But how to decide? Okay, we look at the first one. Okay, this one again. We know that 3 period going to have, so this one we don't have any problem. The regular is okay. Okay, this one we going to start to have problem because the demand is more than the regular, so we going to start the overtime. So here going to be 3 periods, so we will do this one, and this one. Okay, so we want to know the difference. So this time you need to add up the regular and overtime and minus the demand. So for this one, 280 minus 200, you got 80. 280 minus 200, you got 80. Okay, this one, 280 plus 40. Okay, you get 320. And then minus 300, you got 20. This one also, 320 minus 400, you get minus 80. Okay. And then for this one, 320 minus 500, you have minus 180, and this one you 280 minus 200, you got 80. So now we start to do the inventory. Again, begin, start with 0. And for this one we have 80, so at the end we got 80. So 0 plus 80, 80. So bring 80 to the next period. 80 plus 80, 160. Next period, 160 plus 20, 180. Next period, 180 and then minus 80. So 100 left at the end. Bring to the next period, 100. And then you need to 180. So you have short here. Okay. So you give the 100 here, but you still hutang 80, so you have to put at the backlog. Okay, so at the end you have 0, so 0 bring here, so this one you have extra 80, so again you bayar hutang dulu 80, so you have nothing left. Okay, now you can calculate the average. How to calculate the average? Again, begin plus n divided by 2, you get 40. Begin plus n divided by 2, you got 120. So you have to do for all. So you sum up, you get 520. And this one, they only one backlog, so 80. Okay, now you're going to do the cost. Okay, this one, you're confident it's correct, then you do the cost. So the cost for this time is 280 times RM2. So you got 560. So do for all, sum. And then for overtime, you only start from here, 40. But this time, the overtime cost is RM3 per unit. So you put here RM3. So for RM3 times 40, you got 120. So same for this period 4, period 5. and then you sum up. And then for back orders, you have 80. The cost for back orders is 5 ringgit. So 80 times 5 ringgit is 400. And then the inventory, you just take the 40 times 1 ringgit. So again, you have to do for period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you total up, you get 520. Then you sum all the cost. So the total cost for the overtime is 4,640. And now you're going to do the last option is the hiring. Okay. So they said that they are using 14 workers and temporary workers only can do 15 units per period. So the regular is still the same, no change with the 14 workers. And then we know the difference here is 120, but you need to do hiring. Okay. So we know that one workers can do 15 units. So if we hire 2 people, so 15 units times 2, we have 30 unit per period. So now we have 120 short. So 120 divided by 30. So 4 period we're going to hire 2 temporary workers. So which period we're going to put? So we need to decide here. Okay. So here, do we need extra worker? No, because the demand is less than the regular. This one also, do we need extra workers? Because we know that at the end we cannot have any inventory. Okay, so you need to make sure the 4 period is start. This one you need to leave it without extra. Okay, because this one is less. So you need to start early. So instead of put 30 here and start here, so you put earlier on the period 2. So period 2 you put 30. So you know, because for period 30, 30, 30, 30, so you go 120. Okay, now we do the difference. So 280 minus 200, we get 80. Okay, 280 plus 30, we get 310. Minus 200, you got 110. And then this one also, you have 310 minus 300, you got 10. And for this one, 310 minus 400, you start to get negative 90. And this one also, 310 minus 500, you get negative 190. And this one, 280 minus 200, you got 80. Okay, now you have to do the inventory. So start with 0. So we know 0 plus 80, 80. Bring to the next period. 80 plus 110, you got 190. Bring to next period. 190 plus 10, you got 200 at the end. Bring 200. 200 and then minus 90, you have 110 extra. And then bring to the next period. Okay, now you know that you have 110, but you need 190, so you have short of 80. Then you have to put backlog. Okay, ada hutang 80. So the next one, you ada extra 80, but again, this one first bring 0. 80 again, remember kita ada hutang, bayar hutang dulu dan 0. So make sure this one kena 0 sebab dia kata at the end must 0 inventory. Sebab tu you tak boleh buat last kali untuk dia punya hiring. So you kena start awal. Kalau you buat kat sini 30 ni, you akan ada extra dekat inventory. Okay. Okay, now dah complete this part, then you can do the cost. The cost again untuk regular ni sama, 280 times 2 ringgit. And untuk hiring ni, dia punya cost akan sama dengan regular. Okay, so 2 ringgit per unit. So 2 ringgit per unit. So kat sini 30 times 2 dapat 60. So since sama sampai period 5, so 60, 60, 60 sum. Okay, untuk back orders ada satu je, 80 times 5 ringgit. So dapat 400 sum. And then okay, when we start hiring people, we need ada fee tau. When you hire and you orang kata let go, lay off, akan ada fee. So we start hiring 2 at the period 2. So each workers RM50. Okay, since 2 workers 100, and then kita lay off dia at period 5. So again lay off pun RM50. So 2 kali 50, 100, sum up. And then inventory is very easy. You just time 1 ringgit the cost with the average. So 40 ringgit, 135, 195, 155 and so on, and you sum up, you dapat 4780 total cost untuk option 3. So now they ask you to compare. Okay, compare antara tiga option ni, which one is the best. So you're looking for the lowest total cost, in which this one 4640. So the best answer is, the best option is overtime with 14 workers, iaitu example 2, for lowest total cost of 4,640. Okay, that's how you do it. A bit tedious, but actually it's very clear. So in the test nanti, or in the usually final, they will ask you one option only. Jarang they compare untuk tiga. Sometimes one or two option. Maybe they ask you for regular and compare with overtime. Or sometimes they just want you to calculate or regular plus overtime, something like that. So later on in the tutorial, I will show you one of the example in the final. Okay, I see you in the next part on the MRP and MPS.